We are talking about Pythagorean theorem, and we want to use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So the converse of the Pythagorean theorem says if c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then triangle ABC is a right triangle. So basically we check to see if the three sides make a Pythagorean triple, and if they do, it's a right triangle. If they don't, it's not a right triangle. So we can check. First thing, we have to identify if it was a hypotenuse, which one would the hypotenuse be? And it's always the longest side. So then we want to check, is 9 squared equal to the square of the other two sides added together? So 3 squared plus 8 squared. So 9 squared is 81. Three squared is 9, and 8 squared is 64. 9 plus 64 is 73. So 81 does not equal 73. So this is not a right triangle. So all we have to do to decide if it's a right triangle or not, check if that is a true relationship. If not, it's not a right triangle. Moving on to B, first thing we have to do is identify the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse in this case is always the longest. So we want to check, is 15 squared equal to the square of the other two added together? So we have 9 squared, and we have 12 squared. 15 squared is 225. 9 squared is 81. And 12 squared is 144. 81 plus 144 is 225. So 225 equals 225. So this is a right triangle. We have one more to check here. So we have 5, 10, and 5 times the square root of 3. First things first, we need to check to see which one would be the hypotenuse. So we can multiply this in our calculator. 5 times the square root of 3 is approximately 8.66. And the way that we do that in our calculator is we say the value was 5 multiplied by the square root of 3. So we hit the second button in the square root in 3, and we get about 8.66, and then the decimal keeps going. So which one is the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is the largest value. So in this case, the largest value is 10. And so we want to check that. So we want to check that 10 squared is equal to the other two, or the square of the other two added together. So we want to check 5 squared, and we want to check 5 squared or 3 squared. And we need to make sure that this goes in parentheses. because we want to make sure that the square goes to both the square root of 3 and the 5. So 5 squared times the square root of 3 squared. 5 squared is 25. The square root of 3 is the square and the square root cancel, and we're just left with 3. So 25 times 3 is 75. So 10 squared is 100. And we want to check about the other two. 5 squared is 25. And we already calculated that one was 75. And I'm going to put a little line here to show that we calculated that, but now we're kind of on checking a different thing. 25 plus 75 is 100. And so 100 equals 100. And so this is a right triangle as well.